Kaspar, so you did Matisse's manifesto.
So that was a very initial strategic idea to say a highlight should go to the general staff so that the art lovers, the tourists, millions of people in the summer who come to visit Hermitage have a reason to go across to also see contemporary art, which I'm not interested in, because the expectation is high masters old art. So my proposal, very intuitively, was Matisse, because it's very radical modern, and at the same time it is also, has a certain convention, stylized, it has a certain bourgeois kind of, it's about beauty, it's about aesthetics, it's about what is beauty. It's a question each generation has to find out in music, in poetry, in color, painting, and so on. And we had an internal discussion, and I remember that a colleague said, why Matisse and not Picasso? And my intuitive answer, maybe because I was very much in awe that the director is an Orientalist, so maybe it was slightly opportunism on my part, but I said, because Matisse is like Buddha. It's very modern and it's very contemplative and very generous. Picasso is like Jesus, aggressive. So in terms of a world culture, you know, the East, the West, and so on. Now, Dr. Kostanevich, who is the curator and a great expert, not only on Matisse, but of the period, you know, from these two Moscow collections, I think he was not very happy that they had to move, but this decision was made a long time ago that the 19th century is moving over anyway. And he did a fantastic job by deciding which colors, how to group it, and so on. So the dance and the music were commissioned for Moscow, for a private house. And there was one on the right-hand side and the other one on the left-hand side. And there was a staircase going up. There's a similar situation in Philadelphia. So these two momentums, dance and music, are the most basic element of culture because it's collective. Music is collective and you only listen to it while it is happening. And dance, you move or you watch dance. So this is the beginning of culture, collective, and it is very much associated to Russia too, even though it was made in France, but it's very connected to Russia. When we see Matisse, dance and music, it's like Altamira, Lascaux. It's the beginning of civilization. So I think what we had hoped, what I had expected, that the masses would go over, but this didn't happen. However, the fact that there is an echo of Matisse is still there. And then we decided to present 3 women artists who deal with the female body, not as an object, but as a subject, because it's about themselves. And this, especially with Marlene Dumas, with Maria Lasnik, would have been interesting in connection to the painting of the Renaissance, the 18th century, and so on, in the Hermitage. So this was basically the approach to have a kind of competition in a highly appreciated canon of classical art, and it is not so easy to compete with it, but it's a challenge to all the artists who were invited. And I think this is the most important thing, that contemporary artists come. They didn't have to participate. Some refused to participate because of the political situation which escalated. And it's very courageous when people say no, and it is cost subsidy. It's on their kind of, they would like to, but they prefer not to. But they're still in dialogue. The most important thing is we have to talk to each other. We have to listen to each other, and we have to find out fears, our hopes, our desires. And this is where art can not help to change the world, but it can at least make it more complex as the world is. So for me, this is accomplished. And many things have not been accomplished, but it's always good when wishes remain open. If every wish would be fulfilled, it would be a nightmare. We know this from children. I want this and this and this and that. And to be a guest with all modesty in a palace with such great works of art is a wonderful privilege. So I think the non-arrogance is the most important thing. Not to tell other people what to see, what to feel, what to think, but to make things open, even when you are not familiar with it. But at least maybe in 10 years, in 5 years, you have a kind of an understanding. So for instance, when I went to Moscow, and I saw the beginning of socialist realism, I was very, very intrigued, because I only knew it from the books or from the internet. But to physically experience it, and to see not only by Necker, but also more academic work, which is very psychological, it's a fantastic experience. And our relationship to Russia is so much conditioned by literature, because in literature, in Russian literature, everything is there. The most nightmarish, most parodiesical, everything is there. But our relationship to the visual art is very much informed by constructivism, by utopian, radical, fantastic thing. But this is being looked upon very different within Russia. So it's also good to have an understanding of how things are repressed, received, what is important, what is not important. And this is the same when it goes to kind of political turmoil. So Matisse is a good example. I have never thought, why shouldn't dance and music not be in one room? There are two paintings. They're very different, and they're very similar too, and they are very large scale for that period. So, I mean, this is to be congratulated. You have some works which don't exist anywhere else in the world. That's a reason to come here and to see it over and over again. So I'm very happy also with the neighborhood. You see, there is Olivier Mosset. He made 5 monochrome paintings. They are kind of punk monochrome paintings. The colors don't harmonize at all, and they are rather ugly in a sense. Later on, I found out that colors he picked are the colors of the hoods of the Pussy Riots, and these colors are based on a certain chemical substance of wool, which started in the 50s, which is sort of neon colored. So it's a kind of a phenomenon he used, but he didn't talk about it. But later on we found out how he picked these colors, because they're not red, blue, and yellow, but they're kind of in between aggressive colors. So also next to it there's Otto Zitko. So he's making kind of a linear, progressive, decorative, expressionistic kind of abstract painting, and suddenly it ends up with a quote, Nie wieder Krieg of Käthe Kollwitz. This was in every book within a socialist culture. No more, ever war again. It has to do with the First World War. She was a kind of, she was a Rosa Luxemburg of visual art. She was I don't know if she was a member of the Communist Party, but she was a feminist, she was a revolutionary, she was a great humanist. With this quote, it happened because of the circumstances here. And there was a press by a very conservative Russian journalist. And he interpreted it this way, that the manifesta is so crazy that the curator manifests himself, because I happen to have a name of Kaspar Koenig. He had forgotten about Käthe Kollwitz, and he was a kind of a Stalinist propagator of political art. So the amnesia is something which is very frightening, and art helps you to remember that you always forget. And therefore, this exhibition is rather, it's not obvious. it's complicated and some things were not possible because it would have been too difficult to make an effort to make it understandable. We are not educators. We are just presenting artistic differences. That's important. So in a way the exhibition is rather conservative because it's all about art. It's nothing but art. So the cinema, half of the productions of the video is from what used to be Soviet Union, Baltic countries, Romania, and so on. And the distribution in the West is very different than here. So this is also about that. And then the public program, and for us it was fantastic to have the parallel program with contemporary art from St. Petersburg, from Russia and beyond, in a fantastic architectural setting. And the man, because I haven't mentioned any person in particular, but I really want to congratulate, to tribute a wonderful designer who gave the overall public program, parallel program, the various parts of Manifesta, a very clear kind of outlook, very unsentimental, very functionalist, and thank you. So this is about Matisse. We could talk about it.